Hi everyone, my name is Laura B, aka Twitter user at @why_tekken, which you probably already know if you're watching this video, and welcome to the first installment of Ask Me Anything, the one and only show where I, Laura B, A your Qs. So as you guys already know, I've mentioned this on the channel a couple of times now. I am currently working on a really big video essay. It is much larger than even my long form video essays before, which aren't exactly short, and I've been devoting so much time and effort to getting this done and doing everything I can so that it won't get copyright claimed that I haven't really had enough time to record a lot of covers or to work on pretty much anything else. But because I still wanted to upload something in July, I decided to do a Q&A video, and I've been asking you guys to submit your questions for a couple of months now. I'm really happy that you guys actually did that, by the way. Thank you so much. It would have been very easy to let this flop, but you didn't, and I truly appreciate it. I have 20 questions on my laptop, which is behind the camera. My dear friend Honey has sorted them and gathered them, and I will be looking at them for the first time because I think that a Q&A video is always a little bit better when it's done blind. So, let's get this right on the show. So this first question is from an anonymous user, and thank you, anonymous user, firstly. What drew you back to tokusatsu? So for you guys who might not be aware of my whole story, I was a Power Rangers fan as a kid, got back into it in high school, very much, was around the Power Rangers side of the tokusatsu fandom for a while. In 2020, and well, really in late 2019, I started devoting my time to another fandom, and then a bunch of shit happened, and then I ended up watching Kamen Rider Revice, and that is what drew me back to tokusatsu. But more than that, I think that, tokusatsu has always been a place that I can go when everything else in my life is falling apart. When I was into Power Rangers in high school sucked for me. I mean, high school sucks for everyone, but specifically I had an undiagnosed ADHD that was kind of ruining my life. And it was really painful for a lot of it, but watching Power Rangers, watching the Twitch TV Power Rangers marathon stream, I still think that's the best way to watch Jungle Fury and RPM, is with the Twitch chat. It's so much fun. It very much gave me a sense of community that I kind of felt like I didn't have because all of my friends were going to college and my plans were survive as long as Spider-Man Homecoming was out, and then it was a mystery up until then, though, I think I've done okay. And then, after all the shit that happened in the other fandom space that I was in, I made a very arbitrary decision to watch Revice. I think it was this subconscious sort of this has helped me before. I think that it can help me again. And as it turns out, it did help me again because, now I'm so involved in this community. I'm making these YouTube videos, people watch them, which is wild. And I mean, it's tokusatsu. I love it so much. I love the way that tokusatsu tells its stories, and I can always find joy in watching new shows, in watching shows that my friends love, in watching shows that nobody's ever heard of. Shout out the Cho Station Trilogy. It's a place where I can always go to find joy when I'm missing it, I guess. That's what drew me back. So thank you for your question. It was a very good question. This next question also comes from an anonymous user. Thank you, anonymous user. Is there some tokusatsu merchandise or toys you wish you owned? The answer to that is a hard yes. There are so many. My dream is to have a house, and I live there alone, and I just have a shit ton of toys. I have a toy room, and I can go in there and play with them. That's my dream. For a while, my holy grail was the CSM Sengoku driver, but I do own that now. It was a Black Friday deal on Tokollectibles. I love them, by the way. Shout out to Tokollectibles. Now, I would say, if I had infinite funds and could just spend it on whatever tokusatsu toy I wanted, I would definitely get the Memorial Ultra Caliber. Because it's so cool. It's one of my favorite morphers in Sentai. I love it so much. I love this goddamn morpher. It's so cool. I also have a goal to own every Kamen Rider Revi Legend Rider item. So I have the Revi ID core, which is from the Geats Winter movie, but I don't have the Revi buckle yet. I have the Revi Chemi card. I have it in a nice little top loader. It's very decorated. I don't have the Revi Gochizo yet, and I don't have the Revi Capsum yet. I think the fact that Mice is going to have a Revi egg is really funny because I do have the Revi egg. It's called the Barrett Rexvi stamp. But yeah, someday I just want all the Revi stuff. And what makes me really happy about Legend Rider stuff is that, like, it doesn't matter how popular or unpopular a series is or how well it's sold. What matters is, like, there is going to be Legend Rider stuff for every single writer that's gone before, so that means that I will always have a steady stream of Revi merch, which is pretty great. The thing is, though, like, when I buy merch, and I do love buying toys, but I think maybe because I just, like, grew up in poverty, but, like, I always look for merch that kind of has a practical purpose. Like, my last tokusatsu purchase was a bag, or a Revice crossbody bag, because I needed a new bag, and it's bigger than my old bag. I am very into the J-pop company BMSG, and they always make an effort to make merch that you can use in your everyday life. And I think that, like, Toei should start doing that too. I also, keychains are a thing that I buy a lot. I have a lot of keychains that are hanging off of random bags. I have one acrylic stand that is Lord Baron, and I always thought it would be really funny to do oshikatsu with him, because it's just like, ah yes, here's Kumon Kaitaru's lowest. But to briefly summarize all of that yapping, I want an Oger caliber, I want every single Revi Legend Rider item, and I want practical merch that I can use in my everyday life. Plus the thing about practical merch is that, like, what if I went outside and someone saw me with, like, my Revice bag, for example, and they were like, hey, is that bag not designed from Kamen Rider Revice? And I'd be like, yes, oh my god, do you like it? And realistically, they'd be like, no, why? What the fuck? But practical merch, Toei, Tokollectibles, whoever I gotta talk to make stuff that I can use, let me know. This next question comes from Matt. Hi, Matt. Oh my god, hi. Matt, you may recognize his name from being in the credits of all of my videos, because he's a really dear friend and he's someone who's always supported me. And his question is, do you plan on talking about Power Rangers, or are you planning to focus on Super Sentai? The answer is, I don't know. There are definitely, like, for one thing, I think it would be really funny to do, like, an April Fool's video essay on Ninja Steel with, like, everything that I kind of headcanoned into existence to make it suck less at the age of 18. I think a video on Jungle Fury would be very good. I think a video on RPM could be very good. It really just kind of depends on where the inspiration strikes. And currently, Power Rangers as is doesn't super strike a lot of inspiration for me, just because Cosmic Fury was so incredibly disappointing. I've also thought of, because I've seen every episode of Power Rangers, so, like, I've thought sometimes about, like, ranking every single season, like, MMPR Season 1, 2, 3, all the way up to Cosmic Fury. I think that could maybe be fun. But the thing is also, like, just because there is more Sentai, since there are seasons of Sentai that have not been adapted into Power Rangers, and because, like, I think Power Rangers as it is does not need to exist anymore. Like, in the 1990s, the culture around Power Rangers and around Japanese imports in general was very different. We all know the story of, like, you know, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune's relationship being censored in the English dub of Sailor Moon, blah blah blah. And so it makes sense that they wouldn't, like, dub Super Sentai, that they would adapt it in the way that they adapted it. But I think that now, with anime being more mainstream than ever, with, like, J-dramas being, like, straight up on Netflix, like, Power Rangers is not super necessary, I guess. But I do think that there was a time in history when maybe that was a good thing, because it was really the only way that we could get these, you know, tokusatsu hero shows in the States. So to answer your question, my dear Matt, maybe. It's a maybe. I think I would want to do a video about Jungle Fury first, just because I feel like it's so underrated. Or, like, I actually haven't seen a lot of the Disney-era Super Sentai that was adapted into Power Rangers, but now that I've seen Deca Ranger, I would love to do Deca Ranger versus SPD, and, like, compare and contrast those and how different they are thematically. I think that Hoji would absolutely beat Sky up. I think he would hate that guy, but, you know, when they go through their respective character developments, I think I can see them getting along. So thank you very much for your question, that's it. So this next question also is regarding Power Rangers and is from an anonymous user. Thank you, anonymous user. Is there a season of Power Rangers that you prefer over its Sentai counterpart? Whew, that's tough. That is tough. I will say that I started Go Onger, and I could not get further than an episode into Go Onger, but I loved RPM. It's a very well written show, so probably RPM for one thing. Though I feel like that's a very cliche answer. That's a very, like, I'm a tokusatsu dude bro answer. I would actually say that Ninja Steel and Ninja are kind of on equal footing in terms of, like, the fandom hates this, but alas, I have thought about it too much, and so it has a huge place in my heart. Samurai, Power Rangers Samurai, I know that the popular thing was very much to say, oh, you like Power Rangers Samurai? Just watch Shinkenger, and I was one such person who was told to do that, and so I did that. It was actually my very first season of Super Sentai. But I have, like, very little attachment to Shinkenger, and I remember thinking that Samurai did some things that were much... I wouldn't say better, but I would say that I like the writing choices that they made there a lot better than in Shinkenger. Although on the other hand, you also have the weird stuff like Japan colonizing California and the head of the Shiba clan being a white guy. So I think it's funny how radically different Mega Ranger and In Space are. Because Mega Ranger, I've mentioned this before, it's very much like Kamen Rider Force. It's a high school story, it's about friendship, it's about balancing being a superhero and being a normal person. So, you know, the fact that that got adapted over here into In Space, where they're in space, it's just... it's creative, and I do dig that creativity a lot. And I love TJ. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a black Power Rangers fan who doesn't love TJ, but I love TJ. So, there's that for you. I think this question is a little bit harder for me to answer just because my favorite seasons of Sentai are, you know, Tokyo-ger, King-o-ger, Gokaiger. And while Gokaiger was adapted into a season of Power Rangers, it was bad, and I hated it. And Tokyo-ger and King-o-ger never ended up coming out over here, so it's like, I don't really have a lot of seasons of Power Rangers that I love that I have actually watched the Sentai for. So, I don't know, I would say that I think Power Rangers and Super Sentai are shows that are good at very different things. And I think that, you know, what's interesting to me about Power Rangers is not, you know, seeing if it can be a one-to-one adaptation. It's seeing if it can be its own unique story told with footage from Super Sentai. So, I guess the answer that you are looking for is RPM. It's definitely RPM. I might give Go Onger another chance when I'm less busy, though, just because, you know, Go On Red's actor, he's a very cool guy, I found. So yeah. So this next question is once again an absolute banger from Matt. Thank you, Matt. What are some of your favorite examples of tokusatsu references in non-toku properties? I.e. Jerome from Fire Emblem Awakening being a Kamen Rider reference. Well, it is true that Jerome is a Kamen Rider reference. You know, his title is literally Masked Rider. I'm pretty sure if I pulled him in Heroes, then yeah, that would come out, Masked Rider. But he's not the only one. And I didn't know this either, just because I only very recently started playing Awakening with the goal of making a very strong second generation, so I just kind of married Chrome and that was it. But Cynthia, so if you look at her official art, she's doing like this pose. She's doing the Kamen Rider Ichigo Henshin pose, and I'll put that on screen so that it is visible, but she's also wants to be a Kamen Rider, which I love. Another one that I think about a lot is the fact that bug types in Pokemon are strong against dark types, because Karate Bugmen always beat Shocker. Pokemon also, like, it's a big Ultra 7 reference, and I haven't seen Ultra 7, but I know that that's the origin of, like, monsters that exist in capsules, so that's really cool. I know that you can find Ultraman references in, like, all kinds of Japanese media. The movie Pacific Rim, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, takes a lot from Ultraman as well, and I don't think I really picked up on that as much when I first watched it, due to being, like, 14, but I rewatched it relatively recently and I was like, oh my god, it's tokusatsu, it's so Ultraman. So that's another one. There's also an episode of the Pokemon anime where the Squirtle Squad dresses up like a Sentai team, and I love that because I love love Squirtle. It's my favorite Pokemon, and now you know. There's the song in Animal Crossing, Go KK Rider, which is supposed to be a Kamen Rider opening, like a Showa-style Kamen Rider opening. Love that. I play a lot of Super Smash Brothers because it's a way for me to vent my anger. I play a lot of Smash, and Captain Falcon, you know, Falcon Punch, Falcon Kick, Rider Punch, Rider Kick. In the Wii, I wouldn't know this, by the way, if not for Game Grumps, but in the Wii game, America's Next Top Model for the Wii, which is a terrible game but a great Game Grumps series, there's this part where, like, the stylist is like, you're so well coordinated, like a Japanese teen superhero team, and both of the Grumps were like, what? And I was like, oh my god, why would they reference Sentai there? That's so random. Also, any Godzilla homage. Love a Godzilla homage. Because he's my friend, Godzilla. So yeah, thank you for your question. That's a very good question. And now you know about Cynthia, too. So this next question comes from Munchie. Thank you, Munchie. Is there a tokusatsu show you weren't fond of to begin with, but has since become one of your favorites, or at least something you really like? Kamen Rider Ryuki. The answer is Kamen Rider Ryuki. There was a tweet made about my video essay on the misogyny of Kamen Rider Ryuki that stated that the person making it, me, didn't even seem like much of a fan. And while that was true, you know, before I made that essay, the thing is, researching Ryuki to the degree that I did, you know, watching Dragon Knight, looking at the novel, looking at, you know, everything I could to prove my point, I found that Ryuki has a lot of good in it. It's a very thematically interesting show. I think that for a show that was literally created to teach kids justice in a post 9/11 world, I think that the theme that it comes to, or the conclusion that it comes to rather, that everyone has a wish and that wish is consistent with justice in the eyes of the person who's making that wish, I think that's a banger conclusion. I think that's very complex, and I think that's a very good theme to teach kids too, because what's right to you might not be what's right to everybody else, you know? And what's wrong to you might not be wrong to some other people. And just Ren as a character, I have thought about him so much more since, you know, making my essay on Kamen Rider Ryuki. He's the blueprint. I don't even hate Shinji. I've never thought he was annoying or anything, I've always just thought he was stupid. But, like, you know, especially in post-canon Ryuki stuff, like the Zio episodes that are about Ryuki, Rider Time Ryuki, even the Geats Winter movie, those are all, like, my good friend Shinji is in them, and so it's a good time. So the answer to your question is very much Kamen Rider Ryuki, because while everything I hate about Ryuki I hate much more sharply, I also grew to love a lot of aspects of it that I kind of couldn't see before. So I would say that the answer is Ryuki. Thank you for your question. So this next question comes from Matt again. Thank you very much, Matt. I seriously appreciate it so much. What would you recommend to someone who's never seen tokusatsu before? Well, the first thing I would do, I think, like if there is a person in front of me and they're like, I have never seen any tokusatsu before, I would probably say not even like one Godzilla movie. And then how I would proceed is like, if they have seen a Godzilla movie, any Godzilla movie, one of the, you know, MonsterVerse ones, -1, a Showa era one, like whatever Godzilla they've seen, as long as they've seen at least one Godzilla, then we're okay. And if they haven't seen a Godzilla film, then I would say, we gotta get that fixed. I would be like, stay there, and then I would bus home or get home as fast as I can, and then I would grab my laptop, download Godzilla -1, and it's Godzilla -1 because I have it, and then I would go back to where they are and I would park them in front of my laptop and be like, watch this, and then they would watch Godzilla -1 and they'd be like, whoa, that was dope as hell. So firstly, Godzilla. Gotta make sure that you've seen at least one Godzilla movie. I also think that the Shin movies, you know, Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, Shin Kamen Rider, those are very much like, if you want to get an idea of what those really, you know, franchises as a whole are about, I think that watching those movies is a great idea. I mean, my dad has never seen an episode of Ultraman, and he's never seen an episode of Kamen Rider, but we've watched both of those movies, and he walked out of both of them being like, I understand now, I get this. As far as, like, shows go, shows are a little bit harder just because, you know, even within the realm of Kamen Rider, you have so many different genres of shows. Like, I wouldn't recommend Drive to somebody who hates cops. I wouldn't recommend, like, 01 to someone who's very anti-AI, because that's aged terribly. I don't think that I would recommend, like, Ninja going into Super Sentai. I wouldn't recommend Ninja or Hurricaneger to somebody who doesn't like ninjas, for example. So I think it really depends on what the person likes. If they are not gonna be, you know, cool with watching a kids show, then I would definitely maybe recommend Amazons or Black Sun or Garo. I would absolutely recommend Garo. I think that, you know, if they want like a really solid season of television, then just watch Yami wa Terasumono. I also think that if a person grew up with Power Rangers, then one of the best things that you can do is go and watch the season of Sentai that became your favorite Power Ranger season. So, like, for me, watching Ninja was, like, a really big deal because it was like, oh yeah, I remember this and this and this from Ninja Steel. They used this footage in the Halloween episode, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're, like, a 90s Power Rangers fan and you grew up with, like, MMPR, for example, then you should probably check out Zyuranger. But really it depends on the kind of stories that you like, regardless of the tokusatsu trappings around them, if that makes any sense. Like, if you like Grey's Anatomy, check out Kamen Rider Ex-Aid. If you like Columbo, check out Kamen Rider Double. If you like Therapy, Kamen Rider Revice. High School Musical, Forze. Like, snap, 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 there you go. Cooking shows, Kabuto's there for ya. You wanna just have a really weird time? Decade. So, yeah, basically, if you have seen at least one Godzilla movie, then I would move on to checking out Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, and or Shin Kamen Rider. And then from there, it kind of just depends on what you want to watch and the kind of shows that you like, regardless of them being tokusatsu or not. So thank you for your question, and you should check out Godzilla Minus One, you specifically. It's a really good movie. So this next one is from V, who... Thank you very much for your question, V. Which V-Cinema or summer/winter movies do you think stand alone as well as a movie? As in, you could watch it as a movie on its own and enjoy it without having the context of the accompanying shows. Firstly, thank you for your question. It's a very good question. Not Godspeed Love from Kamen Rider Kabuto. That shit made no sense. It was cool. Why is it God Bless America? Cool movie, no sense. But I also feel like with Godspeed Love, watching Kabuto wouldn't help you understand it, because I'm still confused. I very much think that Trio of Deep Sin from Kamen Rider Saber is something that can be watched standalone, just because it's so far removed from Saber canon. Like, it's in the future enough that everyone's lives have changed some amount, so you don't really need all of the context that comes from Kamen Rider Saber to enjoy it. So much of the Forze summer movie is, like, dedicated to them doing astronaut shit that I feel like you could get away with watching that without any context. This is also, like, not what you were implying, but Ultraman movies, you know, from the ones that I've seen, which is to say, you know, Arc, Trigger, those very much feel like you can watch them without the rest of the context of the series. Especially the Trigger movie. You can, like, hop right in. Technically, you could watch the Gaim soccer movie with no Gaim context, just because it's explicitly an alternate universe. But then you would go back and watch Gaim and be really confused as to why nobody is playing soccer, so maybe don't do that, but also it would be funny. Maybe even, like, Ex-Aid True Ending movie, because yes, it does, you know, work as a conclusion to Kamen Rider Ex-Aid as a whole, but also, like, it's a very standalone story. As long as you can pick up on context clues, you should probably be okay watching it. But I don't know, it's very hard to, you know, divorce V-Cinemas from the context of them being parts of Kamen Rider stories, and the same thing applies to, you know, the summer and winter movies, so it's a very tough question. I think that there aren't a lot of them, but the ones that I mentioned, I'm gonna give it a hard maybe. On the other hand, I think the worst Kamen Rider, movie to watch standalone would be that Decade Double crossover movie, the Double Winter movie, because I had no clue what was going on, and then I watched Decade, and then I had even less of a clue what's going on. But I do love Decade quite a bit, so all's well that ends well. This next question also comes from an anonymous user. Thank you, Annan. Which female Toku character do you think was done the most dirty? Homegirl, where do I fucking start? Or homeboy, or homie, I don't know what your gender identity is, but where do I fucking start? Firstly, let's look at Kiva. My fucking god, poor Yuri. Poor Megumi. I had it spoiled for me that Kengo got Ixa, and I was genuinely shocked. Because there has never been a more this character exists precisely to not become a writer than fucking Kengo. Why did he get Ixa, and then meanwhile Megumi and Yuri have to fight for their fucking lives to get a shot at it? What the fuck was going on there? No way. I've already gone at length about how terribly Yui is treated by her narrative. Minato from Gaim, I fucking love Gaim, but Minato Yoko does not get to be as much of a character as she should, and that's very disappointing. Kiriko from Drive is another one. I don't give a shit what anyone says. She should have been a Kamen Rider. There was no reason to have her not be a Kamen Rider, and it's bullshit that she didn't get to be one. I'm sorry, but I'm not actually that sorry. And I know, somehow we have wrapped our way into thinking that Sachika getting to be out of the loop of the show and not getting to be an active player and solely providing emotional support for the boys is somehow feminist. But unfortunately, I enjoy thinking with my brain, and I can say that she is treated fucking terribly, and just because the actress didn't want to be a Kamen Rider doesn't mean that Sachika shouldn't have been a Kamen Rider. I don't think that actors should, have more of a sway than the people writing the show, unless they're being asked to do something like absolutely ridiculous. And a woman being a Kamen Rider is not ridiculous. I'm sorry. Sorry. But really, it's tokusatsu is very much from Japan, and every country in the world has issues with systemic misogyny. Japan is no exception. And, all art is the product of the politics in which it was created in. So of course, female characters, it's going to be up in the air as to if they're, even a little bit relevant or not. But I could genuinely make a top 50. I could make a top 50 done the most dirty Kamen Rider girls, and still probably miss a few. Kureha from Zets? I almost dropped Zets over how Kureha's character was treated. But also, after Goth, at least we got a female henshin hero, so it's how low can the bar truly go? Kamen Rider Femme is another one that I've talked about at length as well, because she exists to be weaker than men, and then get beat up and then die in the bushes alone. It's bullshit. So yeah, there's a lot, but it probably says a lot that Megumi and Yuri from Kiba came to my mind first, just because bullshit. Genuinely, I'm answering these questions on July 15th, which means that we don't at this time know who the writer of Kamen Rider Mythos is going to be yet. And if it's Inoue Toshiki, I'm skipping it. I cannot fucking stand the way that he writes women. I've even seen that, people say that Dawn Brothers is more of a feminist series from him just because Haruka is such, a major player. But the other thing I see is that the Red Ranger likes kicking her and laughing, and it's I'm not gonna laugh at a woman suffering. I'm sorry. It's not funny to me. I don't think that's funny at all. And if you think that's funny, I mean, you can think whatever you want is funny. But you might want to think about why you think that's funny, Now, this next question is also from an anonymous user. Thank you, anonymous user. Tokusatsu Nightmare Blunt Rotation. First of all, Laura B Studios does not condone the usage of any drugs, and Laura B Studios is also based in Colorado where recreational weed is legal. So don't do drugs, kids. Stay in school. Eat as healthy as you can. Save your money. Go to college. You can be anything you want to be. Don't do drugs. So firstly, I actually smoke weed. I smoke cards mostly just because, I live in an apartment building and it's hard to, you know, have a actual blunt. But who would I want to get high with? Hinoeji, firstly. Hinoeji's on the dream blunt rotation list. I just know he can roll a good joint. I know he's done it. Go from Drive, I would say, is kind of hit or miss. I 100% think that he owns like a huge bong, like in the States, and like he's trying really hard to keep Kiriko from knowing about it. Nightmare blunt rotation though. Ooh. So hard. For my first pick on the Tokusatsu Nightmare blunt rotation, I am going to pick Saejima Koga. And I pick Koga because I feel like he would just not vibe well. I feel like he'd try too hard to be stoic even though he's actively like getting high as balls. So Koga's there. I also just feel like he would roll bad joints. And speaking of rolling bad joints, second pick, Gear from Ultimate Taiga. I remember like I read about, or my friend Key told me about, you know, him leaving the Land of Light and everything, and I made a joke about Gear rolling the worst joint ever, asked to leave Land of Light, blah blah blah. So Gear would be another one. He very much strikes me as the kind of guy who would get like really like fake philosophical, and I'm not smoking weed to do that. I'm smoking weed to be happy and relaxed. I don't want to think about the meaning of darkness or whatever, dude. So Koga, Gear, already off to an amazing start. Trousers from 01. I feel like he couldn't take it. I feel like he just would cough and cry a lot, and it would be really funny to watch, but it would be a nightmare to experience. So Trousers is number 3. Ishido from Boom Boomger. I don't think Ishido can handle weed at all. It would be really funny to watch, like I mentioned with Thouser, but he's just too uptight, and I feel like he'd get really paranoid and really, like, I feel like he would call Joe and be like, get me out of here. And I say call Joe and not Taya because Joe is a cop, and so he'd be like, I need to be arrested, and Joe's just on the other line like, Shido-senpai? What's going on? Are you okay? So, there's my 4. It's Ishido, Boom Boomger, Thouser, Gear, and Koga from Garo. It would suck. It would be ass. And on the other hand, Ijihino, Man Can Roll a Blunt, Go, knows what he's doing. Nito from Wizard would also be on the Dream blunt rotation. I've really wanted to make a tier list for some time of Kamen Riders ranked based on how easy it would be to overcharge them for weed. And the only reason that I want to do that is because I feel like Shinji, you could like get him some oregano and he'd be shelling out the bucks for it, man. I think it would be really funny. But yeah, thank you for your question. That's a very funny question. So this next question is from Kay, who I just mentioned. Kay has been a friend of mine for a very long time. She is one of the most creative, intelligent, just amazing people that I've had the pleasure of knowing in my life. And there would really be no Laura Studios without her because she always reads my scripts for me, so thank you, Kay. How do you pick your background music? Ooh. You always have such a huge and intricate list, so I wonder if there is a science behind it. Thank you for your question. It's a very good question. The answer is, it depends. So the reason that I use songs from video games in the first place for background music for my videos is because, well, my thought process was, Scott the Woz gets away with it. So if Scott gets away with it, then I can also get away with it. And it really kind of depends. Sometimes I'm going to, you know, go for a certain mood. Like, in my Gaim video essay, for example, I used Guile's theme when I was talking about, you know, the lead up to the final battle in Gaim. And, you know, this, like, epic showdown that was gonna happen between Kota and Kaito. And I used Guile's theme because I feel like it very much signals there's about to be a fucking showdown and it's about to be epic, you know? Or, like, when I'm talking about female henshin heroes, for example, I tend to use music from the Metroid series because when I think of a badass lady in a power suit, I think about Samus. Sometimes it's just like, it's an inside joke with myself, kind of. Like in my top 10 tokusatsu shows of all time video, when I was talking about Saber, I used Song of Storms from The Legend of Zelda, because there's a song on the Saber soundtrack that sounds exactly like Song of Storms, and when I was watching Saber, you were there, I was like, this sounds like Song of Storms. And so I used that for the background music there. Sometimes I try to like match music from a game that like has some similarity or mechanic that evokes a tokusatsu show. Like, for example, if I ever did a video on Kamen Rider Zio, I think I would use a lot of music from Chrono Trigger, because it's a game about time travel, and then a lot of music from Fire Emblem Awakening, because I think in a lot of ways Kamen Rider Zio is the Fire Emblem Awakening of the Kamen Rider franchise, in that it's very much a love letter to everything that came before, and also in that it's about going back in time to defeat an evil, but then you get there and the evil is just some guy. When I'm stuck, when I can't decide on like what music I'm gonna play for a section of a video, when I'm stuck, I open up Super Smash Brothers and then I just go to the music section and I scroll and I think, what would work here? Like, that's how I ended up deciding to use Castlevania music while talking about Garo in my reviewing every tokusatsu show that I finished in 2025 video. And I landed on Garo Castlevania because, you know, Vampire Killer. I always use music from the Style Savvy franchise for my intro and outro because I love Style Savvy. It's my favorite game series of all time, so of course I'm gonna use that. I use a lot of music from Final Fantasy VII as well. Shinra Inc. is like the shortcut to me talking about like an evil corporation or an evil organization, because Shinra Inc. pretty evil. Or if I ever did a video about Gotchard, I would definitely use a lot of music from Pokemon. I would probably score the whole thing with Pokemon if I could. And sometimes it's just stuff that I think is funny, like the intro to my gun video I used Fruit Ninja, because Fruit Ninja. Or in my How Ryuki's Blueprint Fails Writers Women video, when I'm talking about, you know, the side chicks, I thought, who's a female assistant character in a game? And then I landed on Maya Fey from Ace Attorney, so in the background section for that, I'm using Maya Fey's theme. But you know, at the end of the day, I love video games and I love scores. I love, like, matching the vibe or even making myself laugh. And I am not afraid to outsource as well, because I'll be like, hey, person that I'm DMing, I want to use this song for this section because XYZ, do you think that's a good idea? So I am not afraid to ask for help either. For my methodology sections, I always use the Super Smash Bros. 64 character select music, because it's kind of like you're selecting a character, but you're selecting a chunk of the video to look forward to. I don't know. So is there a science to it? Fuck no. I think most scientists would look at my process and be like, what the fuck are you doing? But, you know, I put a lot of thought into it. I put a lot of thought into what I'm signaling with my background music choices. Sometimes it's just like, this sounds good here, so I'm gonna use it, you know? Our next question is also from an anonymous user. Thank you for your question. I hope this isn't awkward or anything, not at all. But you express yourself so freely and openly on this channel. Where do you find the strength? I'm sorry if this is weird, it's not. But it's admirable, and I want to try to be as strong. Thank you, See, I feel like I censor myself on this channel a lot. If I even went, like, half as much into my true views on certain things, then I feel like nobody would take me seriously ever again, just because they're opinions that go against the grain to such a big degree, so I'm happy that I at least come off as confident. That's very nice of you to say. I think that, you know, in any fandom space, and especially, you know, a smaller fandom space like tokusatsu is, like, there are always going to be opinions that are very popular and you disagree with, but you feel like you can't get away from them just because they're so universally held, you know? And I think that going against the grain can be very scary. It's something that I have struggled with a lot in the past. But in the end, you know, your opinions are a part of you. And so if your opinion is something that's not popular, then You can either pretend that you do have the popular opinion and you'll lose a little bit of yourself along the way, or you can be yourself and love that person who you are who has that unpopular opinion. And I actually do very much hope that through my videos, through criticizing the things that other people don't seem to think it's okay to criticize, through honestly and openly loving the things that I love, I want to make the tokusatsu fandom a better place. Which, like, I'm just one guy. I'm not, you know, I don't want people to just start having the opinions I have. What I want is for people to have the strength to form their own opinions, you know? And it also comes from spite. I can't forget spite. Because I am a petty bitch. I am such a petty bitch. If I see a take that I think is stupid, then I will make an entire video in order to knock it down, just because, like, people don't watch shows with their eyes open sometimes, you know? So spite is a very large part of it for me. And I've been in that place that you may be at, anonymous user. I've been in a place where I felt like I can't express my opinions, and it sucked. It was ass. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. Of course, I want people to be able to feel free, you know? And, you know, the best way to do that is to lead by example. So this whole YouTube channel, I've pretty much just been trying to lead by example and make it so that other people can feel as free to express things as I am. So I can't believe you find it admirable. That's crazy. Yeah, how? So to you, anonymous user, this is what I have to say. I think that you already have the strength that you need to be open and honest about your feelings. I think it's already within you. And it's just up to you to figure out a way to express it that you feel comfortable with. Whether that be tweeting, being a YouTuber that shows their whole ass face like I do, whether that be being a VTuber, you know, making edits, whatever that is, I think that you already have the way. Or I think that you already have the strength, and I think that you just need to find your way. And when you do find your way, I am looking forward to it, because we could always use more people who speak from their hearts, you know? So thank you very much. This question is also from an anonymous user. Thank you, anonymous user. Have you seen any magical girl anime, and if so, which ones? The answer is yes, I have seen a lot of magical girl anime. The first anime I ever watched was Tokyo Mew Mew, which, huge impact on my life. Huge. Tokyo Mew Mew, Sailor Moon, I've only seen Futari wa Precure and the one that got dubbed into English as Glitter Force. I'm totally blanking on the name right now. Futari wa Precure, though, was great. Ojamajo Doremi is another magical girl series that I very much loved watching as a kid. I was like, 9 or 10 years old when I was watching these shows. And Ojamajo Doremi was the first one where I was like, oh, the characters are like around my age. That rules. So that's one that has a very large place in my heart. Mermaid Melody. Oh my god, Mermaid Melody. Mermaid Melody, I still, bump the songs. Some of those are bangers. I would love to cover Taiyo no Rakuen Promised Land someday. I'd have to drop it by like several half steps, but it's on the list. PMMM is one that, of course, I've seen. Still waiting for the Rebellion sequel, though I don't know how I'm gonna convince my dad to go see it with me. Shugo Kara? Shugo Kara has aged terribly. It's aged terribly. Even at the time, I didn't like Ikuto, and then I grew up and I was like, what the fuck? What is going on with this age difference? Blah. But the music? I mean, I'm a Hello Project fan. I've always been a Hello Project fan since I was like 9. So, Buono, Guardians 4, Shigokara Egg. It's my childhood. Loved Shigokara at the time. If we count, Aikatsu and Prepara, I have watched so much Aikatsu and Prepara. And I especially love Prepara because, number one, it's the first one of those games that I actually got to play because I got a Switch port, and it's very easy to set up a Japanese eShop account to play Japanese games, so Prepara I have a very big soft spot for. Pretty Rhythm as well. I never watched Pre-chan though. I watched like up to Idle Time. There was a show called Sasami Magical Girls Club. I think it was like a spin-off of Pretty Sammy, and it had this English dub that kind of ghost stories did, if that makes sense to use as a verb. Like, I just remember one of the lines was, "Don't hang out with her too much, you'll catch emo," which in no way, that can't be an accurate translation of the Japanese at all. But that line has stuck with me. So the answer to if I've seen any magical girl anime is hard fucking yes. I love magical girls. If we're allowed to expand this to, you know, magical girl projects from outside of the anime realm, then I loved Winx Club as a kid. I still have like my Winx Club OCs floating in my brain. I loved Winx Club. Up to like season 4. And then, you know, season 5 onward, like, quality. So yeah, magical girls, I am always here for magical girls. I love magical girls. And I love magical girl idols, because I love singing. This next question comes from DJ. Thank you very much, DJ. Top 3 red-blue ships. Fuck. I can only pick 3? That's so few. Well, for one thing, I would say that Kota and Kaito from Kamen Rider Guy and Banana Orange, as I like to call them, is certainly one of them. Cause I am a simple man. I think that if anyone is worthy to choose my fate, it's you, is an incredibly fucking gay thing to say to someone. Emu and Shiro from Kamen Rider X-Aid are technically blue-pink, but in Superhero Tyson, Emu is the Red Ranger, so technically they are red-blue. And I love Emuhi. I know that Emuhi is not a ship that's popular. I know that it's not a ship that anyone else really gets, but it's certainly, you know, they're my everything. Technically, Shu and Yuma from Ultraman Arc do count, both because in their VTuber avatars, Shu is blue and then Yuma's red, which I think fits them a little better, but also, Ultraman Arc movie spoilers ahead. Gilarc is red while Arc is blue, so they count. I'm not gonna do a top 3, by the way. I'm sorry for not like really answering your question. I'm just gonna list a bunch of ones that I like, because there are so many. Hanasaku, you know? Hana and Sakura from Kamen Rider Revice are like everything I love in a red-blue. The whole strength thing, the saving Hana, oh my god, gay people. Bon and Hoji from Deca Ranger, they're the blueprint for a reason. Jack and Sky from Power Rangers SPD, Brody and Preston from Power Rangers Ninja Steel, Nick and Madison from Power Rangers Mystic Force too, they count. Of course, there wouldn't be this dynamic as we know it if not for my good dads Ren and Shinji from Kamen Rider Ryuki. Kagami and Tendou from Kabuto are another one that I love a lot. So I can't give you a top 3. I cannot give you a top 3, and I apologize for that. Gira and Yanma! Full respect to my boy Jeremy Spiders, but I just never moved on from the Yangira train. Sorry. They had just so much more build up. It very much felt to me like Gita and Jeremy kinda got astroturfed after the time skip, and then it just didn't hit the same because we had watched Yanma and Gita like really grow to respect each other and view each other as friends, and then Jeremy just happened. So I never really moved past Young Gita. Love Young Gita, the last great Sentai Red Blue. Hell, if Setsuna and Rangyu from Gavan Infinity count, then fuck, I love them. Tuna, as I have started calling Setsuna, Tuna is down so bad, but he doesn't know it because he doesn't know that he has emotions. But he does, and the emotions are down bad. So I'm sorry for not really answering your question. I just can't pick only 3. There's so many. Too many. There's so many. I'm sorry for not answering your question, but there's just too many. This next question also comes from an anonymous user. Thank you for your question. Have you ever made a writer self-insert? If so, what powers did they have? Not really, actually. Just because when I make OCs, which I very much do, I'm like constantly thinking about OCs. When I make OCs, I certainly put parts of myself into them, but I've never just been like, I am putting myself as a whole thing into a series, you know? But I always thought that if I self-inserted into Revice, then I would use a bunny-themed Vice stand. Because I'm a bunny. And probably like something ninja related, I think, would be the weapon set. Or a sword, because I love a cool sword. I think self-inserting into Saber would be fun too, I just am not sure what books that I would use. Gaim, though, I would say that my most developed self-insert is in Gaim. Because, for one thing, y'all gotta remember, it's canon that, number one, in the world that Gaim takes place in, the USA got super fucking nuked. It's like a wasteland here. And it's also canon that, like, these remnants of Yggdrasil have gone and distributed Sengoku drivers that they have left over to, like, struggling communities. So, my Gaim self-insert idea, she's this girl. She was born in a city that got nuked, but she lived. And eventually she got her hands on a Sengoku driver and a Cascara Lock seed, and she turns into like a jester-themed rider. Because, you know, the whole thing about Gaim is that it's a fruit and then like a kind of warrior or like a sort of kind of royalty even. And I thought a jester is kind of as close as you can get to being an idol, because at the end of the day I am an idol. And so she has the Cascara Lock seed, she transforms into this like jester-themed rider, and then she goes and hangs out with Zack. And that's it. We're just like friends. I'm not self-inserting into Gaim to like date anyone or anything like that. It's solely so I can hang out with my good friend Zack. Because who doesn't love Zack? Shout out to Zack. This next question comes from Lychee. Thank you for your question, Lychee. Which secondary do you think is the biggest aura farmer? Ooh. Okay, well, let me think. Ren... He's like so much of a loser that I feel like it kind of cancels out any aura farming he does, but I'm always thinking of like the Night Survive, you know, debut shot. And it's a similar thing with Kagamin from Kabuto, because he's so a loser. His debut was so cool, but at the end of the day, he's still our Kagamin, you know? Dare I say, Igarashi Daiji. Just because, you know, I've been, just because with Daiji, his debuts for his new forms are always such events, and he gets to, like, fly and do all this stuff. I feel like Daiji farms a lot of aura. And because he's not really, like, a loser in the way that a lot of secondary riders are, he has different shit going on. Because he's not a loser in the way that a lot of secondary riders are, he genuinely is cool even when he's, like, actively losing his fucking mind, you know? And a lot of that probably has to do with, like, the wings on his suits and how those look. But, you know, in his fucking debut as Holy Life, for example, when he's like, "You get no mercy from me." Like, okay, Ike Fire Emblem. So I'm gonna tentatively give it to Igarashi Daiji. Because he does farm it. He farms it. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Is there a fairy tale you wished they used in Saber that didn't appear? This is a question from Kitty. Thank you, Kitty. Ooh, I mean, okay, firstly, I have to think about what did appear in Saber. You know what would be dope? You know what would be dope? Is if there was a form that was like the Princess and the Pea, and it had like a gun, and it shot like a really small bullet, but you would just feel it a lot. That would be kind of funny, like a sword gun, I don't know. They really kind of covered a lot of fairy tales that I like with Saber. Though, you know? I think if it was me choosing, like, a new form to add to Saber, then I would maybe do, like, something based on a sci-fi or horror novel. How sick would, like, a Carrie form be, you know? Or, like, Jurassic Park? Oh my god. See, this is the thing. Jurassic Park was a book first, y'all. So, therefore, Jurassic Park, Kamen Rider Saber, form, Toei, hire me. But I don't know, I feel like the fairy tales that they used were fine. I thought that those were certainly enough. And I also just haven't really thought about what fairy tales I really love in a while. But maybe I should, so thank you for inspiring me to think about that some more. I'll answer it someday. This next question also comes from an anonymous user. Thank you, anonymous user. Showa versus Heisei versus Reiwa, what was your favorite Toku era? Well, I'm gonna right away discount Showa, not because I think it's bad, but because I have not seen enough of it yet. I'm still, like, very slowly working my way through Kamen Rider 71, and it's just tough because I really like Hongo, but he's not there for a really long time. But I love him. So I can't form an opinion about Showa, just because that'd be like me forming an opinion on molecular physics, because I don't know shit about molecular physics. I can't even say the word right. So Showa, it's not Showa. And I honestly would not say that it's Reiwa either, just because the Reiwa era has given us a lot of shows that I seriously fucking dislike. And it's true that, you know, there have been less of them thus far, but I think it would have to be Heisei, just because the shows that I dislike from there, I dislike a lot less than the ones that I dislike from the Reiwa era. Plus the Heisei era, you know, that gave us the Choseition trilogy. It gave us my favorite seasons of Garo. It gave us so much fucking good Ultra, my god. It gave us some of the best Kamen Rider as well. A lot of my top 10 Toku shows of all time video list was Heisei era Tokusatsu. It felt like, I'm sure that at the time, you know, because people are snobs and they're always going to be like, oh, the past was better. I'm sure that at the time people were all thinking, this isn't real Tokusatsu, this isn't, like, good or whatever. But I don't know, I just feel like the Heisei era brought us a lot of really good stuff. It brought us Tokyo-Jur, it brought us Ninin. And also when you think of how long the Heisei era has gone for, it's true that Kamen Rider fans consider everything before the 90s to be the Showa era, but the Showa era actually ended in 1989, which I learned recently because of that BL that Watanabe Shu and Joe from Boom Boom Jur are in. So, everything from 1989 to like 2019, that's 30 years worth of shows. That's a shit ton of shows. That's a shit ton of movies too. Like, that's when the MonsterVerse really started, and I didn't like 2014 Godzilla, but I liked the things that came after it. So I would definitely say that I'm not a Heisei elitist. I will give any show a chance no matter what year it's from. But the Heisei era just has such a big concentration of shows that I love, and shows that I love outside of the big three as well. There's just a lot, you know? It's when the Tokusatsu adaptation of Sailor Moon came out. There's a lot that I think exists in the Heisei era that, you know, I love a lot. And there's less things that I, like, absolutely hate, you know? There's nothing that I would actively be afraid to comment on because, you know, even with my least favorite Heisei writer, Kamen Rider Drive, even with Drive, it has aspects that I like a lot. It has characters that I like a lot. It has Heart, who did nothing wrong and was objectively correct. So I would say Heisei. I would say it's Heisei. But the Reiwa era also has the opportunity to turn things around, you know? I think that as long as we don't get anything as poorly written to its female characters as Geats, and anything as outright offensive to actively harmful as Gov, then I think we'll be okay. And plus, I have to give the Reiwa era credit for, you know, expanding Tokusatsu's reach, just because I bet that, you know, during the Heisei era, the idea of something like Zets happening, something simulcast, was like, that would never happen, and now it is happening, and that's really, really cool. So yeah, I would say, Heisei, Reiwa, and then Showa, because I don't have enough Showa knowledge to form a full opinion on it. Next question comes from an anonymous user. Thank you, Anonymous. And it's a really wordy question, and I'm just trying to read it. Do you wish that Shoma should have been allowed to be angry when it comes to Hanto, Especially since he was looking for his family behind his back even if he had good intentions. Yes, I do. No, I'll elaborate. So I've said before, I have no beef with Shoma's stomach, and I actually see a lot of myself in Shoma's stomach. And so I fuck heavy. I don't like the MBTI, but I fuck heavy with the Enneagram just because I think it makes a lot more sense for me to be like, oh, my personality is like this because this need wasn't met, and my fear is this, blah, blah, blah. Just the way it works is very much more accurate to my experiences in real life with MBTI. So I very much see a lot of 9-wing-1 traits in Shoma's stomach. And the whole thing with 9-wing-1s is that our fear is being abandoned, and the way that that manifests, which is the wing, is I'm going to try to be a good person, I'm going to try to make as little fuss as possible, I'm going to try to, make sure that everyone else is happy so that they won't leave. And the thing is, as a result of having that side of me, I have been very bad in the past about enforcing boundaries and saying, no, I don't want that to happen. So the fact that Shoma did in fact tell Hanto that no, he did not want to look for his human family at that moment, that's a big deal. That's something that a lot of Enneagram 9-wing-1s struggle with. So I was like, yes. And then Hanto was just like, well, he might want to meet them eventually, so... It's just very shitty when a person, breaks an established boundary anyway. But I feel like it's even shittier when it's something that that person actively struggles with, So yeah, I think that Shoma should have been allowed to be angry. I don't think that, well, you had your own reasons is a good enough... No. And if anything, I just can't help but imagine Gov post-canon being Shoma growing to resent Hanto more and more because Hanto treats him like shit and nobody sees this. Everyone just acts like it's cute yaoi, and I'm like, I love toxic yaoi, but I like toxic yaoi where it's like, this could never happen in real life. Like, Jinga from Garo does not exist in real life, and nobody like Jinga exists because that's not how humans work. Horrors aren't real. So I can, pair him with Ryuga and think, oh, it's so fucked up, and, he can, drag Ryuga into the darkness, blah, blah, blah. But guys like Hanto are everywhere. Guys that will go behind your back, even if you tell them not to, are everywhere. And it fucking sucks. I don't like that that is seen as at all a healthy relationship. And if Shoma's, boundaries and feelings keep getting stepped on like that, what's gonna happen is not that he fucking just forgives Hanto again and again. Resentment is going to build, and he's gonna want to get out of there. He might even blow up at the guy, and I think Shoma deserves to do that. Shoma has been through so much. I think he deserves to get to be angry. And one thing, I was reading on, the Japanese Kamen Rider forums. I was reading that Gov is written the way that it is because they filmed it so far in advance they couldn't, measure the fandom's reactions to things. Which is, a good thing, for one thing, because filming it in advance is easier for the actors, blah, blah, blah. But, as a result, I feel like it's so conflict avoidant because they just tried to make it so that none of the characters wouldn't be likable. And that results in boring TV and me wishing Shoma was in a better show. So yes, I do think he should have been allowed to get angry. I think that he has every right to be angry. And I fucking hate Choco Gummy. I am so sorry to everyone that ships it. I know that you're gonna unsubscribe or leave a hate comment, and that's fine. If you don't want my opinions, then you shouldn't be here anyway. And our last question here comes from another anonymous user. Thank you, anonymous user, and it's much shorter. What Reiwa Tokusatsu is your favorite so far? Good question, anonymous. I will say, here's what I'll say. I think it's very easy to find out what that is. I think that you can probably figure it out by watching this video, so I hope you watch this video, anonymous user. I think that it's very easy to figure out if you watch other videos on my channel. But if after all that you're still not sure, September 4th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, you will definitely know for sure. And that is it. Thank you guys for watching this video for this long. I hope that you were entertained and that I answered your questions in a satisfying way. I know that like every YouTuber says this, but I truly appreciate people going out of their way to watch the silly things I make, so thank you very much. In the description below, you can find a link to my Linktree that has everywhere you can find me online, including my shirt store. So if you want to buy a shirt that I've designed, you can do that. It also has my Buy Me a Coffee, so if you want to give me $5, you sure can. And next month I'll be uploading a cover. I just need to get a shirt for it. I just need to buy a shirt and then I'll upload this cover. It's actually somewhat timely, but I won't tell you what it is until it's uploaded, but it's somewhat timely. And as I said, September 4th, 9 a.m. I am in the editing phase of this really long video essay right now. It's twice as long as my normal video essays, and it's not like those are short. But I'm in the editing phase, and it will be hopefully done by that date. And if it's not, I'll be really, really sad. But I've been working on it so much. I've dedicated so much time to it already. So I hope that you're looking forward for that. And this was a lot of fun. I liked seeing what questions that you had. I liked seeing my friends. I liked seeing anonymous people. I liked seeing people that I'd never met. So thank you guys very much for all of that. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.